Coming up, Trevor Story and Tyler Naquin slug their way to the top of the day's headlines. This is Locked On Now MLB.
The biggest games, the best performances, expert analysis. You are Locked On Now.
What's up, everybody? You are listening to Locked On Now MLB, local experts with the biggest stories on the diamond. I'm your host, Daniela Bruce, and thank you for making Locked On Now your first listen every weekday. We've got our Locked On MLB host here to tell you everything you need to know from the day in baseball. We'll start with Trevor Story, who could have beaten the Seattle Mariners all by himself yesterday. He tallied 3 home runs and 7 RBI in the Red Sox 12-6 win over the Mariners. And Locked On Red Sox reviews our best performance.
The best performance.
Hold up.
It's story time in Boston as Trevor Story went off for the Red Sox on Thursday night, going 4 for 4 with 3 home runs in the Red Sox dominant win over the Mariners at Fenway Park. Hey, it's Lauren from Locked On Red Sox, and what more can we say? Trevor's Story was the highlight and the storyline of this game. It was an incredible win for the Red Sox, one that they needed to start this series strong, and now they have a chance to make it 3 straight wins after a really strong night from the offense, particularly Trevor's Story. Jake is going to break all of this down for you on Friday's episode of Locked On Red Sox.
The Mariners have plenty of blame to spread around as a result of the loss to the Red Sox, and Locked On Mariners points fingers post-game.
After avoiding getting swept in Toronto last night, the Mariners got back to losing ways in Boston. This is Titan Gonzalez, host of the Locked On Mariners podcast. Mariners fall to the Red Sox 12-6 on Thursday night at Fenway Park. And I mean, what can we really say about this team that hasn't been said already? It's wildly inconsistent at its best and completely, utterly unwatchable at its worst. And frankly, we saw a little bit of both in this one. The Mariners actually jumped out to a 4-0 lead to start this game, if you can believe it. And that was nice to watch while it lasted, but it didn't last long because Trevor Story, yes, Mariners' top free agent target this past offseason, Trevor Story, pretty much put the Red Sox on his back in this one. 3 home runs. He drives in 7 of the Red Sox 12 runs in this game because of course he did. And I mean, we did warn you that this might happen on today's episode of Locked On Mariners. We were mostly trolling with that prediction, but yeah, it turns out we were unfortunately right about that one. A lot of people to blame in this one. Scott Service, bad game for him. Really bad game for Scott Service with the bullpen management. Steven Souza Jr., don't know why he's on the ball club still. Wyatt Mills cannot find the strike zone whatsoever, and this kind of ties into the Scott Service part of this, where, frankly, Mills shouldn't have been in a 2-run ball game with the bases loaded. Just shouldn't happen. But that's what happened. The Red Sox blew the doors off of this one. Good news is the Mariners can get right back at it tomorrow. Well, maybe that's good news for some, bad news for others. But we're also going to be back at it on the Locked On Mariners podcast tomorrow. Be sure to join us on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. We'll see you then.
The Baltimore Orioles snapped their losing streak with a walk-off home run against the Yankees. Baltimore sent fans home happy for the first time in a long time, and Locked On Orioles recaps that finish.
The losing streak, it's over. It is over. Orioles beat the Yankees 9-6 on a walk-off home run from Anthony Santander, a 3-run blast in the 9th inning off of Lucas Letke to win it 9-6. Connor Newcomb here, host of Locked On Orioles. What a win for the O's. They were 1 out away in the top of the 9th, but DJ LeMahieu dumped in a little RBI single off of Jorge Lopez to tie the game, get it to the bottom half, but the Orioles rallied. Hayes and Mancini get on, and Santander blasts one over that. Build a park, create a wall out there in left field. So, hey, Aaron Judge, I guess it's not that difficult to hit a home run over the new wall at Camden Yards. But the Orioles snapped the losing streak, the first walk-off homer since 2019 for the O's. Time to celebrate in Baltimore. Hopefully, there's another celebration coming up soon as well for the Orioles. But we'll get to all that on Friday's episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast.
Our Locked On Yankees host has the reasons for New York's loss yesterday, but also isn't too worried about one off day from the Bronx Bombers.
This is Stacey Gotsoulias of Locked On Yankees, and the Yankees dropped the series finale in Camden Yards to the Orioles 9-6 on an Anthony Santander walk-off home run. Womp, womp. But all is not lost, Yankee fans. They won 6 of 8 during this road trip. They won 3 out of 4 2 times because it was 2 4-game series. That's all you could ask for. It's not that easy to sweep a 4-game series. And to be honest, I didn't think they were going to win today's game, although I thought it was going to play out differently simply because Jordan Montgomery was starting, and usually the Yankees do not score for him. The Yankees have 10 losses this season, and Jordan Montgomery has started 6. And it's not his fault. It's the offense. But this time, the offense actually scored for him, and I don't know, he couldn't pitch. Miguel Castro couldn't pitch. It wasn't the Yankees' day. This is going to happen from time to time. So, the next episode of Locked On Yankees, we're moving right into the preview for the White Sox Yankees. That's right. Yankees are playing the White Sox again. And guess what? After they play the White Sox this weekend, they're playing the Orioles again. It's a busy time for the Yankees, but don't fret just because they lost today. They'll be fine.
The Astros snapped the Rangers' 4-game winning streak by beating the Rangers in Houston. Our Locked On Rangers host goes over the loss to the division leaders.
They have a more iconic duo than the Astros and absolutely ruining things. The Rangers had a 4-game winning streak, and the Astros absolutely ruined it, and so did the Rangers offense. I'm Bryce Patrick, host of the Locked On Texas Rangers podcast. It was a great showing by Glenn Otto. I pulled on my Rice Owls shirt for the Rice graduate Glenn Otto, but he was not able to do quite enough for the Rangers to win this game. 6 innings, 2 strikeouts, 3 walks, 2 earned runs. A solid outing for Glenn Otto, the Houston native, the Houston Rice is in the Houston area. Graduate was not enough for the Rangers to do anything against this Astros pitching staff. Framber Valdez went 7 innings, struck out 7, and only allowed 1 run. The Rangers offense was not able to do much of anything. 6 hits in this game for the Rangers, 13 strikeouts. Not a great offensive outing for the Rangers. A 4-game win streak is done. So much for my hopes for the 4-game sweep. So much for my hopes of proving the Locked On Astros host wrong, of making it very easy for the Astros to win 4 games against this Ranger team, which is playing the best baseball of the season heading into this series. Hopefully they can still pull out 3 out of 4, pull off a series win, and make the Astros look quite foolish. But this game, it was not to be. And you know what? That's all right.
Coming up, the White Sox bats come to life and the Padres shut out the Phillies. This is Locked On Now MLB. Our partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all of your betting needs and sports info. Find all of the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball scores, fights, and even next season's NFL futures. BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sporting wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and much more. Head to the website today to use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Welcome back to Locked On Now MLB. I'm Daniela Bruce, and thank you for making Locked On Now your first listen every weekday. The White Sox hit the Royals pitching all day yesterday as we continue around the league.
Let's go around the league.
The White Sox bats found a rhythm last night and put up 7 runs on the Kansas City Royals. Our Locked On White Sox host tells us more on a good day for what has been a struggling Chicago offense.
The Chicago White Sox beat the Kansas City Royals 7-4, winning 3 of the 5 games in the series. The White Sox had 14 hits in the game. 13 of those hits were singles. The big extra base hit was a blast by Luis Robert, a 2-run homer in the 8th inning that really separated the Sox late in the game. Liam Hendricks came in for the 12th save of the season, and the Sox now head to New York for a rematch with the New York Yankees. Dallas Keuchel goes in game one for the White Sox.
The Diamondbacks snapped their losing streak by beating the Cubs in the friendly confines yesterday. Locked on Diamondbacks tells us how Arizona finally put up a winning effort.
The D-backs bullpen finally steps up as the D-backs snap their 6-game losing streak and take game 1 against the Chicago Cubs 3-1. Miller Thomas of Locked on Diamondbacks here. The bullpen has been a point of contention all season because it's one of the worst bullpens in baseball. You especially can't trust it when it's closing time, and that was not the case tonight because the D-backs had their ace on the mound, Zach Allen. We thought it was going to be a great start, an easy win against the Chicago Cubs, but Zach Allen really struggled. He threw like 40 pitches in that 5th inning, and he was done after 5, so this became a bullpen game. D-backs up 3-1 after 5 innings, and surprisingly, the bullpen was able to hold on. Mark Melancon and Ian Kennedy looked great, like a stress-free 9th inning for Mark Melancon. We have not been able to say that enough this season. D-backs, like I said, 6-game losing streak snapped, so good to see the D-backs finally get back on track, and with 3 more games against the Chicago Cubs, maybe the D-backs will finally get back to 500 and maybe finally start to get back on that hot streak we saw before the 2 previous series.
The Reds won the last 2 games of the Ohio Cup, and both our Locked On Reds and Locked On Guardians host gave praise to Tyler Naquin for his effort in the series.
Well, the Reds have won back-to-back games since losing that no-hitter. Hey, this is Jeff Carr from the Locked On Reds podcast, here to tell you about the fact that the Reds have split the Ohio Cup. And Tyler Naquin is your Ohio Cup MVP. Dude put on a clinic against the Indians this season. He had 7 hits, and he hit a home run today as well. Just absolutely phenomenal performance for him. Plus a good pitching performance for Tyler Mahle. Kind of got a little bit worried there in the 2nd inning, but he pitched through it, and he had a very nice day. Another 6-inning start for the Redlegs. Good to see them continue to bounce back. Now they head to Toronto with the return of Joseph Daniel Votto imminent. We'll talk about that and more on tomorrow's Locked On Reds podcast.
They have a more iconic duo than the Astros and absolutely ruining things. The Rangers had a 4-game winning streak, and the Astros absolutely ruined it, and so did the Rangers offense. I'm Bryce Patrick, host of the Locked On Texas Rangers podcast. It was a great showing by Glenn Otto. I pulled on my Rice Owls shirt for the Rice graduate Glenn Otto, but he was not able to do quite enough for the Rangers to win this game. 6 innings, 2 strikeouts, 3 walks, 2 earned runs. A solid outing for Glenn Otto, the Houston native, the Houston Rice is in the Houston area. Graduate was not enough for the Rangers to do anything against this Astros pitching staff. Framber Valdez went 7 innings, struck out 7, and only allowed 1 run. The Rangers offense was not able to do much of anything. 6 hits in this game for the Rangers, 13 strikeouts. Not a great offensive outing for the Rangers. A 4-game win streak is done. So much for my hopes for the 4-game sweep. So much for my hopes of proving the Locked On Astros host wrong, of making it very easy for the Astros to win 4 games against this Ranger team, which is playing the best baseball of the season heading into this series. Hopefully they can still pull out 3 out of 4, pull off a series win, and make the Astros look quite foolish. But this game, it was not to be. And you know what? That's all right.
The San Diego Padres shut out the Phillies for the 2nd time in 3 games and made up for getting shut out by Philadelphia last night. Locked On Padres is feeling good after a great start from Yu Darvish on the mound.
Don't you love to see it, everybody? What's up, guys? Javier Reyes here of the Locked On Padres podcast. If you couldn't tell by the hat, the Padres win the last game of the series against the Philadelphia Phillies 2-0, thanks to a great start from Yu Darvish. No walks in this outing, which we love to see. I'm pretty sure that this is just the name of the game for the Padres. Every start, with the exception of one Nick Martinez start and, well, one of Yu Darvish against the Giants, but we don't like to talk about. Always quality starts, always going pretty decent enough into games for the most part. And that's really just been the name of the game for the team. And against a really good Phillies lineup that can really light you up very quickly, Darvish labored. He worked over it, over 100 pitches, Really, really like to see that, especially for him, who has been a little bit up and down and very inconsistent, especially since the second half of 2021. Forget this year, just 2021. So that was cool. Robinson Cano having some RBIs in this game. Was I wrong about that signing already? Maybe. I don't know, but it's still too early. But going to be a big series upcoming against the Giants. That will be definitely a big test for not just the offense, but also the pitching once again. And I think they're going to live up to it, because the Padres, folks, don't look now, but they're kind of flying under the radar, man. They got that good pitching and everything. The good times are rolling, guys, and you can hear all about it and more on the Locked On Padres podcast, guys. Tune in.
And that's all today for Locked On Now MLB. Thank you again for making Locked On Now your first listen every weekday. Now that you're done here, make sure your second listens are Locked On MLB and your team's local Locked On podcast. I'm Daniela Bruce, and this has been Locked On Now.